everyone. We are here for another installment of the Faces of PHCP. My name's Christina Augusto. I'm the president of PHCP, and I am joined today by my good friend and colleague, Philip Himanka, who's going to be chatting with me a little bit today. I'm so excited for you all to get to know him a little bit better. Could you give us just like a brief introduction of yourself?
Yes, so I live in Erie, Colorado, next to the Front Range, and well, I do this for full time. I love to teach. I enjoy a lot doing the clinics, and I basically do try to rehab horses. That's kind of my forte. That's what I'm known around here to actually rehab horses out of the damage some people do and try to help them with the environment and nutrition and everything around the horse, like a holistic perspective.
Excellent. And I should have mentioned this. You are, yeah, not only a mentor for us, so students can come to you for mentorships, but you teach lots of clinics for us too. And
Yeah.
that's a huge asset to PHCP. So thank you so much for doing that. So jumping in with our questions here, this is what probably my favorite question because I love these stories. What's your earliest memory of loving horses, like your first connection?
Well, I think I loved horses like since I was very young. It was kind of an admiration for the animal, and I was kind of lucky to have my friends had a lot of friends with ranches, and my aunt had a cattle ranch, like a ranch for it was like they call them toro bravos, like for the bullfighting.
Mm.
And we used to go there and ride as early as I can remember. They used to actually tie me to the saddle. So they
Like a
put me on a
seatbelt.
horse and they tied me to the saddle. And there goes the kid tied to the saddle, and you know, and it was interesting. So that's kind of a memory. It's very blurry because I was very young. I
Yeah.
was,
And where was this?
well, there was one part in Mexico, one part in Spain, because actually, well, my most of my family is from Spain
Right.
and from the region of Granada, and so I had a lot of fun memories about that. And I had my my little plastic pony at the house that I used to ride all the time and things like that. It was
Oh,
it was fun.
I love that. And so then did you continue riding horses? Like I know now, I don't know how much riding you do these days, but you were into endurance riding for a while. Like what was that led you up to that?
Yeah, so there was kind of a three stages of riding in my life. Kind of like the part when I was a kid and I used to ride in the mountains and all that stuff. And then the teenager years where I had a friend that liked to do cross country. So he put me on a horse and made me jump all these crazy ass jumps. And you're indestructible at that age. And
Yeah.
so I got a little bit of fear, but I still loved it. And then in my 20s, I got also the opportunity to have a farm close by to where I had a little store. And so they lent me horses to exercise them at the track. So that was like a lot of fun. And I just hop in the horse and just go gallop all around. Then then kind of had like a jump. And in my 30s, I started endurance basically because I was doing triathlons. And for me, if exercise was the factor that made me healthy, I was thinking of the horse, and I think the horse needs exercise. So what's the best
Mhm.
sport for the horse? Endurance. So at the beginning, I was looking at riding type, but no, later on, I just found out endurance, and it was fantastic. And you were afraid at the beginning because it's these long ass rides that go forever. And no, I got little by little, and I was very lucky because I was living in New Mexico next to White Sands. So in the back of my property, it was the missile range. So there was a kind of a buffer zone of the missile range that they let me ride. So it was like I could ride in a straight line like 100 miles.
Oh my gosh.
And it was beautiful. It was desert and oryx and cattle and all kinds of things. It was just amazing. That's what got me into endurance because I could just hop on the horse and go,
Go and go. Yeah.
go, go,
It's
and
not
go.
like you had to go anywhere, to do that. You could just do it from where you were, right?
Yeah. And I had the beginning. I had a quarter horse Mustang mix, and then a quarter horse, and I figured out that I was gonna kill them if I was riding them that much. So then, of course, I moved into Arabians, and that was
They
it.
definitely dominate that sport, don't they?
Yeah, they're built for that. They're
That's
built for that.
awesome. And so then from there, what was it that got you interested in hoof care? How did that start?
Well, it kind of linked one thing to the other because I figured out, well, first of all, there were not good farriers around there. So I had to read a lot and then figure out and tell them what to do and what not to do. And and it was funny because I knew right out of the bat from what I read and from my common sense, and this was when I started, like probably even 20 years ago, that I was telling them, don't touch those heels
Hmm.
because I saw the issues that people were having all around because of that. And then I just started doing it myself because I figured out that I was going to do a better job, and it was not that hard. And then I was in a very good shape by then, and I was writing a lot, and it was just not so hard. And so one thing led to the other, and then I started learning, going to clinics, reading books, and you get hooked. And then I figured out that in endurance, my horses were doing better with actually with the, I started with the boots.
Hmm. What were
And
the first boots do you use? Do you remember?
well, the Easy Care ones, the old ones, they had that like a wire strap. And then when the
Oh yeah.
Renegades came, the first time the Renegades, I tried them and I had issues with them.
Hmm.
And then and then I said, well, let's see what this does. So I started nailing our European some kind of version of the of these just nail-on plastic shoe
Hmm.
that kind of like the ground controls, but he was a lot better, and it was made in Europe. Actually, years later, they I couldn't find them anymore. They didn't sell them anymore. That company went away, but they
Hmm.
were fantastic. They worked like a charm, and and one thing led to the other one, and I figured out that my horses were didn't need anything being barefoot in the desert. So I would only put him in shoes for a competition.
Mm.
So I rode him
Interesting.
barefoot in the desert every day, and he was he was
Right.
he was fantastic. So that thing led me to, open my eyes that the horse can have with all this crazy stuff, can be barefoot and not having all these extra expenses or extra things we do to the horses. Let's put
Simplicity.
it that
Yeah.
way, and then later on, actually Garrett was the one in a ride that got me into gluing.
Nice. So just to back up a tiny bit, my one of my questions, because I think when people start out in the beginning, right, I'm sure you see this, right, when we have new students in like their first and second year, they make some big mistakes and they freak out. Like they're the only person who's ever made a mistake, right, doing this before. So I like for us to share, like, what was your biggest mistake that you feel like you made when you first started out? Was there something that really stands out to you?
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful, beautiful question. So actually, I was laming horses because I was trying to follow up guidelines,
Mm.
and I was
Make
trying
it
to
look
follow.
nice?
No, no, no. Actually, the mapping system and the guidelines that some organizations, I went to the ELPO and DAISY and different schools of thought. And the problem was that I was not seeing the hoof in three dimensions. I was not seeing the whole picture. Actually, to be honest, I was trimming way much better before than
Oh.
that period. That period got me into, but it made me open my eyes. And the first one that made me open my eyes was Leslie, because
Mm-hmm.
Leslie saw that she wanted to see how I glued.
Leslie Carrick,
And
right? Is who you're talking about?
yeah, Leslie Karen. And then
Mm-hmm.
she said, no, 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 no. You're gonna lay me a course like that. Don't do that. Don't trim from the bottom, do these, that. And it was like incredible because that changed my career. I was gonna go down the drain because I was laying horses right and left. And
Mm.
uh, and of course, in endurance, I was not because my horses had really healthy feet, and I can do almost anything to them. And then if I glued for the rides, they were perfect. But I was wondering why the other horses in my practice that I started was they were not doing well.
It's interesting you mention that because a lot of people have said something similar, like, we'll learn something new and we go to try and apply it, but we don't necessarily take into account like the health of the rest of the foot, right? Like you can't just lower heels on a horse that has a really weak caudal foot and things like that. So it's really interesting hearing everybody's stories and hearing how we all go through like sort of a similar process of learning something new and figuring out how to apply it in a way that is appropriate, right? Because like I think hoof mapping has its place, but you have to apply it in a way that makes sense, right? Like you're saying, three-dimensionally. Um, but it
Yeah.
takes sometimes being like pulled out of that, right? And have someone go, no, 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 like you have to, go back to this. That's really interesting.
So yeah, the
Um,
tastiest. I'm sorry, I forgot to say this thing.
no, go ahead.
Tastiest thing of my career is being figuring out why things happen.
Mm,
Know
getting to the
how,
root cause,
but
right?
the circumstances, the environment, how the hoof grows over time. Let's put it this way. The, I hear a lot of the biomechanic talks, and they send the bio out the window. It's
Mm,
just mechanics. The biology doesn't exist. And that's when
interesting.
you get into problems because you're not understanding why things happened,
Mm-hmm.
how, and in what circumstances, and in which environments. What is the horse doing? So there's so
Yeah.
many factors that if you don't take in consideration all of them, you go away.
Yeah. So that kind of leads into another question that I have. Is there like a certain type of, so this is funny. When I asked Melody this question, she's like, well, I don't love it, when horses founder, but that is what I work on the most. So is there a certain type of pathology or specialty that you feel like is your thing that you're really honed in on and you're really good at working at, or that's your favorite to work on?
Well, it's not that I say it's my favorite because you actually suffer when you try when you come you see a horse for the first time and the horse is foundering and it's in a lot of pain and the client doesn't know what to do. The vet
Mhm.
doesn't even know what to do either. And then sometimes the like when you get horses out of shoes and you pull the shoe off and it's like, oh my God, like
Mhm.
it sinks your heart. But at the same time, it's a challenge. So it's very rewarding for me to actually rehab horses from laminitis. And at the beginning,
Mhm.
I took it very personal because I had a few incidents where I figured out that they were trying to blame the vet and the owner were trying to blame my trim, and the horse was foundering.
Mhm.
So I took it very personal as like, no, I need to learn more to actually be able to open my mouth and say things instead of just
Mm.
taking the blame. you know
Yeah.
and that led me to read and learn more about laminitis, try to understand it. I mean, I keep learning. I'm trying in my path right now. I'm trying to figure out what is the difference between a horse foundering from a chronic laminitis, foundering from onset laminitis, and foundering from of a reaction actually from steroids.
Right.
How
There's a
that?
Right. I totally can understand that because sometimes we get pigeonholed into thinking everything is metabolic, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes it's not, only because metabolic seems like it's so widespread, right? We see it so often, but it can certainly be other things as well, right?
yeah. And then what happens to the bone? Not only the lamina, but what
Right.
happens to the bone? And that's where I'm at right now. And it's pretty interesting. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah, I did you get a chance to listen to Dr. Bowker's presentation at ECIR just this past week?
no, but I have it and I'll
You're gonna like it. Yeah,
recordings. Yeah,
it's
it's gonna
very
be fine.
interesting for sure. Right up that avenue. Um, so shifting gears a little bit from things like we were talking about, mistakes that you feel like you've made, what's something that you feel like is your proudest moment in your career? Maybe not even a moment, but like, just something that you're super proud of. Um, something about your career.
Well, well, of course, in endurance, the Tevis Cup and actually with hoof care, my horse winning a 155-mile ride barefoot. Then,
Wow.
of course, well, I'm gonna put it in short. A retired vet, really old vet, called me, and he had in his table Pete Rainey's books, the whole thing, and he said, "In my backyard, it's full of buried horses that I had to put down from laminitis. But this is my daughter's horse, and this one I want to save, right?
Oh.
So I want to save this horse, and I want to do the everything to save this horse." And I said, "Well, yeah, But I told him, I said, "You want to save this horse? You got to be game with me to what we
Mm.
need to do to save your horse." And we did everything except that he didn't move the horse as much as I wanted because
Mm.
of his tradition of having the horse in stall rest. And so
Hmm.
the horse was going better and worse and better and worse. But when the horse started to be a little better, I was pushing the vet to actually get him to go, get him to move. The horse ended up completely getting his feet back and doing 4-H for his
Oh,
backyard.
great.
And that was very, very satisfying because I was going, at least I had an ally, and I was going
Hmm.
against the current of all his friends vets telling him, oh, what not to do, you know,
Right.
that it was
But he had
actually,
seen, right, like the way that that
yeah,
was going to end up and wanted to actively try something different. That's amazing.
yeah. So he had an open mind, and this was years ago. I don't know if he's still alive, but he was nice.
That is so cool. And to win the trust of, somebody like that who's saying like, I'm going to give you, my full trust in that we're going to try this differently than I think, right?
Yeah.
That I've done in the past. That's really a vote of confidence in your ability. That's amazing. What a cool story. So then now looking forward, what's something like where do you see the future of your career going? Do you have any projects that you're working on that you're really excited about? What's the next chapter here for you?
So my next chapter, of course, is continuing teaching, continuing learning, putting together all the thoughts that I have in practice. And let me put you an example.
Mhm.
I've been trying a lot to rehab horses from low plantar angle. Okay, so
Mm.
negative plantar angle. And I've been trying to think about why that happens and why it happens different in many horses, and why sometimes the prosthetics lifting those heels work and sometimes they don't work. And what I'm finding out in that some horses, yeah, you can gain a little bit of heel growth, but the toe grows so fast that with any prosthetic that you're trying to lift those heels, you know, it doesn't work because the prosthetics prevent that toe to be worn.
Hmm.
So you lift the heel and you come back in 4 weeks and it's
And it's the
back again
same.
because the toe
Hmm.
grows so fast. And it's also because the horse also he could have pain in the front or in the back, and it's putting all his weight back. So
Right.
the pressure is caudally. So I'm trying to figure out some wedges that actually you just wedge the heels and the toe, you leave the toe barefoot to be
Mm.
grown naturally, or to come back every 2 weeks and get that toe, lower that toe and get it to rehab. Because you see horses that you do it barefoot that have enough heel, you bring that angle back nicely barefoot.
Right. When you have enough depth at the toe, right, to work with.
Yeah, no, and when you have a little bit of heel, but when the horse is walking on the heel bulbs,
Hmm.
then that tissue, that corium that it's at the edge of the heel is so damaged that you cannot grow it. You
Right.
can go out the toe as much as you can, but that's going to still be flat as can be, and the tubules, the direction of the tubules are going to have so much torque and so much leverage forward that it's really hard to lift them.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like a point of no return. Once they're just like this, it's like
Right.
how are you gonna lift that? That's almost in the ground. Well, that and this
Hmm.
in the ground, because those horses sometimes, well, sometimes it's gone gradually to that point,
Hmm.
and sometimes the farriers, what they try to do is get that pressure of the frog or get the frog to touch the ground
Mm.
because they think about the frog being a vertical pump.
Hmm.
That we can go in a rabbit hole with that. But anyway, what they do is that in order for that frog to touch the ground, they chop the heels off. And that shoe
Mhm.
actually digs on the corium of the heels.
Mm.
And you've
Yes,
seen it
I've
many
seen
times.
that. Hmm. Like having a
And
prolapsed frog then.
exactly. And just the frog just bulges back and it's a mess. And then that corium is so unhealthy that how can you grow strong tubules at the back there? You have the
Right.
pressure, you have the leverage, you're working against gravity. You actually have to put the horse upside down to actually get it better,
I know. Dang, if only we could do that.
you know? And so how do you do that? So that's one of my conundrums. And why do a lot of people don't have success with that? Because I see a lot of farriers wedging, but
Hmm.
when they chop the heels and when you have nothing there, then of course you're defeating the purpose first,
Right.
and then you're putting a prosthetic that prevents that toe to be worn continuously.
Hmm.
So those prosthetics that last that long, especially if the horse is it's trying to get its weight backwards, then just the toe grows like that parrot nose or that bull nose, it just grows like that, and the bone just goes negative because you
Hmm.
have the digital cushion bulged back, your corium at the heels is damaged, all these things. So that's my conundrum. What is the best way to actually help them? So I've been creating some little wedges that you can can glue at the heels. The problem is getting them to stay because they don't have a whole structure.
Right. That's always been, I mean, it's been my challenge with glue-ons in general because I want the most flexible glue-on usually that I can find, and those are the hardest to keep on. So I'm imagining if you have two that are like separate from each other, that's got to be really tough to get to stay. But
Yeah.
knowing you, you've got, I'm sure you're coming up with all kinds of different ideas. So I look forward to seeing what that looks like.
Yeah. No, I
That's
even thought about, I mean, I'm gonna try different types of glues and and one when I have a friend that actually 3D printed these wedge. Of course, the material from the 3D printing sucks because it's not
yeah.
flexible and it's not going to stay. But said, why don't you screw it to it? Like,
Oh, funny. You're like, well, it's not a piece of wood. Like, it doesn't exactly work like that, you know? Oh, that's interesting, right? Because
yeah,
it's like even on a horseshoe, right? The nails don't go back there for a
yeah,
reason, you know? Interesting. Cool. Well, I'll look forward to hearing more about that as you work on it.
yeah.
So just to shift gears a little bit, is there something like, because I think it's nice for people to get to know us as a whole person. Is there something outside of horses? I don't know if you're the kind of person that's like horses 24/7, you don't have any other interests or hobbies, but is there anything outside of horses that really brings you joy or something that you like to do?
So yeah, well, the top of the list if it's my son and my granddaughter that they live in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I have time, I go visit them. I'm gonna try. I'm trying to go there every like twice a year,
Mm-hmm.
but it's getting super expensive.
It's a big
So
trip.
yeah, and the euro is more expensive every year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little. It kind of creeps up.
Mm-hmm.
So but I have to do it. That's my joy and walking in Spain and seeing friends and family, and that brings me a lot of joy. And
Oh,
also working in my shop, doing little projects here and there. It's kind of fun. It's kind of enjoying, and in the springs of the garden and growing vegetables and
I've seen your beautiful roses.
no, thank you. Thank you. And working, I mean, working here on the ranch is like is a joy.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you
Every
have a
time we do
beautiful
little
property there.
here and there little things, fixing fences and
Mm-hmm.
you know.
That's wonderful. How old's your granddaughter now?
She actually yesterday she turned 3.
I was just gonna say about 3. Oh, that's such a fun age. They're starting to like develop their personality and
Yeah,
oh, it's so fun.
she's starting to play tricks with my son. She's counting and my son, and he says uno, dos, tres, cuatro, and she goes uno, dos, nueve. And he said,
Ah,
no, uno, dos, tres, cuatro. And she goes, uno, dos, cuatro.
oh,
So I tried to trick him. Like playing a joke.
love that. Oh my gosh. I love it when kids do stuff like that. They think they're so smart,
Yeah,
like,
I
oh,
know.
I'm pulling one over on you. That's
Yeah.
adorable. Oh my gosh. So, thank you for sharing all of that. Is there anything that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you want to share with folks, either like a last little pearl of wisdom or just something that you're super passionate about that we didn't get a chance to touch on?
Yeah, definitely. What I like to teach to my students a lot is the perspective of figuring out why the hoof can get so many distortions
Mm,
and why that happened. Not concentrating so much in um, if you understand why, it's going to be easier to help them in the long term and not to think too much in the short term because it's very easy to put any kind of prosthetic, any kind of glue on or any kind of shoe, and the horse is going to walk out better because it's like you walking with shoes, right?
mhm,
But to think a lot about what's happening down the road.
mm,
You want to have a loyal client where you go and you're happy because you rehab their horse and they owe you their lives. They're
mhm,
just kind of like, and it's nice because it's not this crazy client that's jumping one from one thing to the other and is not going anywhere. The horse doesn't work, they buy a new one.
mhm.
Makes sense? It's more of a
Yes,
long-term relationship, it's more rewarding, it's deeper and it's I mean
for the horse, right?
healthier.
In the end.
Yeah, it's healthier because you're making people think and
Hmm.
understand. When I started not thinking and getting things like a cookie cutter or like these, you have to do this because I'd said so because we've been doing it forever, you know,
Hmm.
and supposedly works, that's when you go wrong. That's when you start
Definitely.
making mistakes. And then you get frustrated because oh, they told me to do this and it doesn't work. Why? And you start saying why, you get frustrated. But it
Right.
activates your brain. So figure out why things happen and don't just take things like a cult. So I see that a lot on Facebook. The
There's
cult.
a lot of critical thinking that has to be applied, right? Like you
Yeah,
can hear something, but then to be able to apply it in a way that helps the horse in front of you in the situation that it's in, right? Takes some real skill. And I
yeah,
think that's something that's very hard to teach sometimes because it feels like either, people have that ability or they don't, or it just takes a while to develop that. Um, because it can be easy to see a picture of a foot and you go, oh, that looks just like so-and-so's foot, but so-and-so doesn't live in the same conditions that that horse does or do the same kind of job. And yeah, it can be you have to be able to think critically about how, how that's going to translate into what you're trying to apply it to, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great little pearl of wisdom to leave us with, Philip. Thank you so much. It was awesome chatting with you. I always
Thank
enjoy
you.
chatting with you. I loved hearing your stories. And yeah, I hope this helps everyone get to know you a little bit better. And I hope people come out to mentor with you and take your clinics. And thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. You're wonderful. Thank you.